Hey guys, Jacqueline Marie here, and today I decided to do my first tag video, which is the throwback tag. So if you're interested in learning a little bit about me and a little bit about my childhood, go ahead and keep watching. I was born in May of 1989, but my mom's original due date was for end of April 1989, so came out a little late, but May's a good month, so I'm happy. I have a ton of photos from when I was younger, so I will spare you guys all the time and just show you the ones that I think are important. So here's the first one. We'll start with me as a babe. Shows you I should have been a hairdresser at a young age. Again, me with a wig on, crazy hair. We all should have seen this coming. This is me and my mom. Me and my dad. Me and my childhood best friend Taylor at the Rotary Fest. So this is from our first Rotary Fest years. This is me and my grandfather in Michigan picking blueberries. Or Grandma's seal when they brought home chickens. Little baby chicks. And then this is when I visited my Grandma Hastings, or Grandma Jan, in Florida. So I grew up on the obvious Barney and Sesame Street and Lamb Chop, if you guys remember that one. But I also was a Nickelodeon person, more so Nickelodeon than I was Disney, so I watched Real Monsters, I watched Doug Funny, Rocko's Modern Life. That was more my style versus all the Disney shows. But I do like Disney movies, but I was more of a Nickelodeon kid, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Those kinds of shows. If you're talking more mature shows, like what I watched as a family, I watched Walker, Texas Ranger, and any Jean-Claude Van Damme or Jackie Chan or Chuck Norris movie with my grandparents. We would also be the ones that would close all the blinds in the house and watch the scary shows on TV where they would lock a family in a castle for a night with ghosts and stuff. So that I would watch with my grandparents. With my parents, I always remember them watching NYPD Blue and ER, so those were some of the shows that I kind of grew up on. So I had some of the weirdest ideas for career paths when I was a child. It started out with wanting to be a grocery bagger or a tractor driver girl. Now, grocery bagger, I just thought it was pretty neat how they would put everything in the bag, and it was quite efficient when I would go to the grocery store. I don't know, mind of a child, just remember that. The other one was tractor driver girl because my grandfather was a farmer up in Michigan, and I loved going out on the tractor. He taught me how to drive it, so I thought I would be plowing the fields and, yeehaw, but I guess I'm not doing that yet, so we'll see. Maybe when I retire. So I had the obvious favorites of Barbie dolls, and what girl doesn't own at least one Barbie doll in their life? I had a couple favorites and a couple that traumatized me. One of those being the extension Barbie, and she had Velcro underneath the occipital bone of her head, and you could cut her hair. She came with scissors, and then once you cut her hair, you could put the extensions back on that little piece of Velcro. Well, no one told me that if you cut Barbie into a pixie haircut and then you put the extensions back on, that she's gonna look like Billy Ray Cyrus. So that was kind of traumatizing to me because she was a one-shot Barbie. I cut her hair and that was it. I didn't want to touch her again after the mullet. I also had a Barbie doll house that was like 4 stories tall, and it had like an elevator in it. And I remember my neighbor Taylor having the same, like, not the same dollhouse, but a similar dollhouse, and it had like a battery activated elevator, and mine you had to like use the whole like pulley system, and mine was like 4 stories and hers was only 2. So I was really upset that she got the electric elevator, but I had like further to travel and I had to have a pulley system on mine. So I do remember, like, that was my favorite dollhouse, except for the fact that you had to have a pulley system to get the elevator up the Barbie house. My mom keeps telling me that my favorite toys as a child was to, of course, bag groceries, back to the whole what I wanted to be when I grew up. The whole, like, putting things in bags, I guess. I'm, like, the official bag lady, but she said I had, like, the whole, like, cash register, and I would put canned good foods into, like, paper bags and play with that. So apparently I was amused by canned goods and paper bags. So one awesome favorite toy that I had was my Honda, like, mini bike, and it was a Honda 50. I mean, my parents taught me how to ride it by the age of 5, and every time we went to Michigan, that was how I rolled. That was my ride. So I actually still have it to this day. I need to get it cleaned and put back into action, but I still have this mini bike, and it's brought me a lot of memories. So that was definitely like one of my all-time favorite toys, and I still own it. Well, I have 2 instances. One of them was in middle school when I tried out for the Palms team at Grove Junior High in Elk Grove, Illinois, and I made it, but I was just, I don't know, celebrating with the girls in the hallway during passing period, and we were like doing cheerleading kicks or something, and I kicked my leg up in the air and my pants split straight up the back. So I had to wear a sweatshirt around myself all day long because my mom couldn't come and bring me pants. So that was one of my most embarrassing moments. My other most memorable embarrassing moment was when I was probably in like 5th grade or 6th grade, and the boys who lived next door, they were like super cool, and they were in high school, and like everybody knew them. They had a ton of friends, and they were outside talking with like my mom and their parents, and I can't remember which one was out there, but I tried to like act cool and drive my bicycle like and jump over the curb, but instead of jumping, I hit the front brake and I threw myself over the front of the bicycle and like knocked the wind out of myself, put myself like right in front of everybody on the ground, and just kind of ate it. So that was the other embarrassing moment, when like you're trying to act cool, but you know, you kind of fail. Well, at about 3rd grade, my parents got me like my first CDs when like the Discman was big. So I got a Discman and a couple CDs. And off of the first CD, which was the Armageddon soundtrack, if you remember the movie Armageddon with Bruce Willis, I fell in love with Aerosmith because they were all over the album. And I Don't Want to Miss a Thing was like my favorite anthem ever. We would go on like car rides, like road trips to like Michigan or down to Tennessee, and I would like have my Discman on in the car, and I would be singing at the top of my lungs, thinking that no one could hear me. So I would rock out thinking I was Steven Tyler, but apparently I didn't sound like that, and I probably didn't sound very good. So that would be my first song, was I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith. So the second song I would choose would be Ace of Base, because again, it was on one of the first CDs that my parents bought me when I got a Discman, but I remember that my babysitter would listen to B96 as we would drive in her muscle car down the road, and it would be the 3 of us, me and her 2 kids in the back seat, Taylor and Andrew, and we would be listening to the radio with the wind in our hair, and that song would come on the radio, and that's kind of like the song that engraved itself in my head as a child. So I couldn't find a third song for you guys, but I talked to my mom and we realized that I was kind of like an addict to the whole Disney sing-along VHS tapes that came out when we were kids in the 90s. And I would be addicted to watching those over and over and over again. So ask me any Disney song and I pretty much know it by heart just because of those like early on childhood karaoke tapes from Disney. So thanks Disney for putting those out. So I have like one memorable Halloween costume, and it had to be in preschool when I wanted to be Baby Bop, and I thought it would be cool to be Baby Bop, but once like the costume went on and I got to preschool and saw like all the other little girls dressed up as like princesses, I kind of regretted ever choosing it. And I actually have a photo piece of evidence. That's me waving in the Baby Bop costume from Barney. I just remember having to wear this obnoxious bib to give me the dinosaur look, and I just remember being like super annoyed by it. So that was probably my most embarrassing Halloween costume. So I guess I would have to use this as my funny story, but as the music would play in the grocery stores and you'd walk through the aisles, if something like fun and catchy came on, I would actually be like rocking out, dancing down the aisles, and my mom said that she would like laugh at me all the time because I was just like moving and grooving at the grocery store. Another one would be at 9 months, I was actually potty trained because I wanted really cool underwear like all the other kids out there, because they had like Barney and Power Rangers and Barbie, and I wanted to be part of like the cool crowd and wear normal underwear. So I guess I put it on once and didn't make it to the toilet and kind of wet myself, but I was so upset that I ruined, just absolutely destroyed, which I didn't, I just wet myself, my really awesome underwear, and I guess I never peed my pants again. So I was kind of a prodigy child by being potty trained at 9 months. So I don't have them in hand right now, but I have one at my mom's house, and it is my first stuffed animal, which was Big Bird. And he was from Sesame Street, obviously, but he's got all this like yellow fur, like shag rug fur on him. And as a child, I guess I would like rip his fur out with my teeth until he was bald. So somewhere at my mom's house in a box in her attic, she has a very, very bald Big Bird. My other animal is actually downstairs in my basement currently, and I haven't had the chance to dig him out, but he is a pink bunny rabbit with fabric in his ears, on his paws, and for his bow tie that has like a jelly bean pattern on it. So I named him Jelly Bean. He was a gift from my great-grandmother, and I was supposed to be born around Easter time, but I was born a little bit after, so he's kind of an Easter-themed bunny rabbit. And I've had him for coming up to 25 years now, so he's one of my oldest remaining material items that I have from my childhood. So even though he's chilling in the basement, I think I'm going to keep him for a pretty long time. So I couldn't like technically think of anything weird that I did as a child because I consider myself normal, even though I am slightly off. But I had to ask my mom on this question to see what she would answer, and she told me that because we come from a hunting family in Michigan, and at an early age I would see my grandpa and my dad hunt, and like my uncle and everything, they would go out hunting in Michigan. So, you know, they would ask me, what does a pig look like? What does a duck look like? What does a cow look like? And then they would ask me, what does a deer look like? And I would tell them this. So I would give them a dead face because I would see the deer hanging in the barn as they were cleaning and skinning the animal. So I think that's probably one weird thing as a child if you ask them, you know, what does a dog look like or a cat look like, and then they tell you what does a deer look like, and it's, you know, with the tongue hanging out and everything. That's a little off. So maybe that's where I get my morbidness from, is that, you know, it began at an early age, and I'm okay with it. So I would have to say that the scariest thing I remember happening when I was a child was when 9/11 happened. I remember, I think I was in 7th grade. I was at my middle school, and I was in my social studies class with Mr. Krupa. And Mr. Krupa was like the, you know, the old tough, had a cane, would beat you kind of teacher. And I remember him coming in the room with the TV on the roller, and he would plug the cable in, plug the TV in, and he turned it on, and all we saw was planes crashing into buildings and the World Trade Center just falling to the ground. And I remember being so scared because my uncle lives in New York City, in Manhattan, and I remember calling my parents and asking them if they had talked to him. And I remember also waiting in the office until they called back and said that everything was fine and that he was good and he was safe. And I just remember it just being so damn scary. Like, you didn't know what was going on. You didn't know if it was going to hit Chicago or LA or Miami, any other big city. Everything just shut down, and we live near a major airport. We live near O'Hare growing up, and I just remember it being silent in the air. That's scary. That's some scary stuff, and that's what I remember most. So I guess the difference between my world now and my world when I was a child is that the technology has grown so much. You know, we've seen the change from VHS to DVD to Blu-ray to, you know, AOL to MySpace to Facebook. So it's just kind of watching the technology grow and flourish, but also create other problems in our world. That kind of scares me. You know, you've got these cyber bullies out there and people who catfish other people on social media, and just, you know, people who are willing to hide behind their computer and not actually confront you. I guess that's pretty much how, you know, life has changed. Just when I was a kid, you had to confront someone. You couldn't hide behind anything. You had something to say, you would say it to their face. There was no other way of saying it. So I guess that's one way that my world has changed. Well, that's it for the throwback tag questions. I guess it's my turn to tag some people to answer these two. So I tag you, Anne Marie, and you, KRISTINALYNN, so that you can answer these two and I can see a little bit about your past and childhood. If you do a tag video for this, go ahead and add it in the comments or send me a private message because I want to see it too. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more from me, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. You guys have a good day. Bye!